Hello, welcome to the Vitruvian Club. Now, before you watch this video, I recommend you watch the companion video titled East of Eden Part 1, as this video is going to be analyzing the lyrics of the song in that video. And not as necessary, but I recommend you watch the 6 previous songs released on this channel, as they are a part of a larger project being an album, and there is a bit of a loose progressive narrative throughout each of the songs. And these songs being My Valentine, Anima Mundi, The Ballad of Silicon Valley, Zeitgeist and the Antichrist, and then Under the Moon, See No Evil, and now this one. Without further ado, let's get into the song. But let's start with the title, East of Eden Part 1. Yes, there will be a second part. This song is about, generally speaking, I guess, damnation. East of Eden, I actually, I pulled directly from the Bible, not from the John Steinbeck book. In fact, when I first wrote this song, I hadn't even read that book. And I had a friend who asked me if I got the title of this song from the book because I had used To a God Unknown by John Steinbeck and to be the companion book for previous songs. I said, no, just a coincidence, we were reading the same thing. But I was inspired to read East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and I'm glad I did. It was, it was such a treat. I haven't sped through a book like that in a very long time, so I very much enjoyed it. And I think John Steinbeck and I were kind of narrowing in on this same thing of this, this damnation of, seemingly this damnation of the human race out of the perfect Garden of Eden and into this ballad of good and evil, and specifically this ballad of good and evil as it kind of evolves into the modern world, which is the focus of this song, this damnation of the modern world specifically. Let's get into the lyrics and I can elucidate that a bit more. Spirits of America, won't you state your mind? Oh, we would have scalped you if we only had the time. Oh, you are so tame now, your sharpness dulled away. A pale horse rides the interstate, back and forth each way. The spirits of America I took to represent, I guess, the Native Americans of America, and I'm asking them, you speak how you feel, and well, they're lamenting on, how let's say they lost the battle, and they wish they would have scalped us when they had the time. And this is a reference to, the really brutal practice of scalp hunting that both the natives and the Americans, Westerners, participated in when warring with each other. I don't know who started it, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? But it nonetheless happened. And one of my favorite books, Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, that's kind of all about a gang of marauders who go scalp hunting for well, so they're supposed to go scalp hunting for Native Americans, and then they end up just scalping whoever they please. But this is representative of a very natural brutality and an old way of living. Not saying it's a better way of living, but it's maybe more real than what we've kind of evolved into as a species, let's say. And then I allude to this, and then I say, oh, you are so tame now, your sharpness dulled away. pale horse rides the interstate back and forth each way. That being that, we used to fight these terrific battles, dealing with life or death, and as horrible as they were much more impactful on an individual, and perhaps provided more direct meaning to individuals. In East of Eden, one of the main characters, Adam Trask, he joins the military rather, and he is fighting the Indians out west, and yeah, it's crazy to me to think that a little over 100 years ago, stuff like that was happening, in that America wasn't this this organized society, and that there were still borderlands and badlands in which the most terrifying aspects of humanity were able to be expressed freely, and I find that really interesting. And when I say the sharpness is stoled away, it means this edge that we had when we would engage in such conflicts isn't really present, or at least it's not really utilized. So we've kind of mellowed out, both metaphorically, we've kind of rounded out, and also physically, we've become literally more obese and out of shape. And I say the pale horse ride the interstate back and forth each way. So our new death is not in valiant battle, but our new death is in the monotony of commuting to a 9 to 5. So then I go to the chorus, and we'll go east of Eden, where we're welcome for a time. And when the light recedes from our eyes, will drown us in formaldehyde. Is this the meaning of my life? So this is, yes, we're thrust from the Garden of Eden, from creation, and we make do for a time. We participate in conflict and violence, and we try to provide meaning for ourselves with these conflicts, and well, it works, right? There's people are doing things, and people are building societies and civilizations that rise and fall. But then it comes to a point, which I would say, we're kind of at now, where it feels like we are in this strange kind of late stage of human civilization, where the world is more connected. Individual wills are much more suppressed in favor of giant bureaucratic machines that act as vessels for us to channel our will in a way that maybe isn't very fitting for the natural state of man. And this almost it creates like a false reality, or like a lifelessness of us just going through these motions, of us, riding the pale horse back and forth every day, this monotonous apocalypse, if we want to reference my song The Zeitgeist and the Antichrist, this monotonous apocalypse of repeating these mellow cycles of with no excitement, and we're all just working towards some sort of greater good, but it doesn't really feel fulfilling to be working towards a greater good, and it felt more fulfilling to participate in conflict, however horrible that conflict may have been. And and I say they drown us in formaldehyde, being that we really are treated as like not as humans, but as guinea pigs or specimens. I picture like a little pig in a in a jar, right? And how it's used, like I said, as a specimen or a tool, as opposed to an expression of a human being, an expression of a will. And that's kind of what we've become almost. Our wills have been so depleted that we are just these lifeless things. This lifeless thing that must be preserved for some reason, and none of us can really understand why it must be preserved, let's say. Or perhaps it feels like that because there's such a disconnect from what we do and towards the outcome of what we do. I think maybe that's a good way to say it. And is this the meaning of my life, right? It's like, am I just this lifeless piece of matter, right? That is a cog in a machine with the light's drowning out of my eyes, but I'm still preserved in the formaldehyde, going through the motions. Is this what we are supposed to do now? Okay, so the second verse, heed what I say, do not segregate your life away. So this would be I guess kind of a reference to I guess what the modern secular world has done is that you do have these, your life is kind of segmented. Like if you have work, you have family, perhaps you have church, you have your friends, your hobbies, right? These are all like isolated entities that you kind of sever your mind from, and you're like a different person who participates in all those things. And well, that wasn't really a thing for most of human history. That's kind of like a new thing. And I think there is a lot of danger in that, because I don't know how possible it is to truly sever yourself from all of these things. And I use the word sever because the show Severance is a great example of why this is kind of a bad idea. And then we have a fraction of infinity, you more than you can hope to be. And this would be kind of tying in that segregation, as in splitting up, and then we to take that and to kind of put a positive spin on it, and that you realize that you are a piece of something, you're a fraction of something, but you're a fraction of infinity, right? So you are much greater than any sort of finite institution would have you believe that you are. And you're more than, you matter more than you can even possibly fathom. At least that's how I like to think. But oh, the apple was so sweet, the product of our pride, a sense in all the suffering, a meaningful demise. So this would be, eating the eating the apple in the Garden of Eden, or the fruit in the Garden of Eden, technically, because it's not technically an apple, right? I think it's supposed to be. I think it's like technically a fig, but I digress. But eating that then brings us into this world of good and evil. And from there, we have this desire to return to the good, but we, of course, are limited. And I think, well, that's one of the optimist in me says, well, that's the goal of civilization, is to try to return to the good and make everything as good as possible for everyone. But as a consequence of that, you kind of have to become a cog in the machine to work towards this greater utopia. So when you're doing that, you diminish yourself. And where are we lyrically? And this desire for the good is a way to mitigate the suffering that is this process of whatever we're doing, of this process of the state of existence that is painful. So we're looking for we look for meaning in it. And yes. Oh, hold on one second. I'm walking around a puddle. Yeah, we look for meaning in any way possible. Yes. I don't think I have anything more to say about that. Or I can't really think of anything. Okay, so we can go to the bridge. I received a message from the lonely one. He wants to see us smile. And this I picture as like, this is like God. And I was like, yeah, this is God. And I wonder, sometimes I think about like, why was everything created? And one of the fun little things is, God or the creator he was lonely and he wanted to make people be happy. But in order to make people be happy, you have to first create them, and then they have to go from being sad to being happy. So the lonely one wants to see us smile. But how can we begin to starve the parasites that kill us softly now? So this is, again, that evil of the East of Eden that drags us down and prevents us from being with the goodness. We can start by holding hands or ring around a posy dance. We'll fall down, but from the ashes we'll rise again forevermore. This would be a solution to this painful reality that we find ourselves in, is that the only way to get through it is to work together. And almost to accept that we are going to be defeated in a way, in that we're doing this ring around the posy dance, that's from the Black Death. So it's I guess almost like an acceptance of the suffering that we're going through, and that having this idea in our heads that, everything is going to be okay. We're going to work towards this utopia, right? We're going to drive the pale horse back and forth every single day on the interstate, and everything is going to be all right. Well, maybe we just have to sit back and be like, hey, this isn't perhaps the best solution to what's going on. This great humanist project. It's not sufficient for our happiness and for our prosperity. And that we need to accept that, and we need to destroy this idea almost, so we can rise again, and we can get into that with the next song. And then in the outro, I repeat, and we'll go east of Eden like 4 times, and then I say, but we're not welcome back in paradise. So no matter how hard we try to make this world better for ourselves, there's always going to be some sort of lacking. And how do you deal with that? And I think if we want to go back to the companion book, which I also referenced a little bit, John Steinbeck kind of writes about a time in America, like I said, where we're fighting Native Americans in the Wild West, a really brutal world, right? One of severe hardship. And as time goes on, he writes from like the late 1800s into like post World War I and this is a time of great societal development in which we're getting electricity and automobiles, and the traditional American farming family is becoming less of a integral part of the world, or integral part of society rather, and now we're progressing towards this strange world in which we are in which we matter less. What we do matters less in our lives directly, as in, if you're a farmer, you're working the land, you're getting your food. But now people move money around. People are working in commercial advertising, right? People are no longer making clothes in their houses, right? They're buying it from the stores and they have excess money to spend. So there's this removal of the things we use and what we do with our lives. And that's and that leads to, of course, what I talk about, this this almost like simulated world that we live in. Yeah. All right. Hopefully this one made some sense. I had some brain farts, but well, that's how it goes sometimes. That's the point. These vlogs aren't supposed to be pretty, right? They're just supposed to be a representative of a thought process. And sometimes I don't think very well. Anyway, if you got to the end of this, I hope you enjoyed it, and stick around for the last one to come. That'll be the end of the album, which is exciting. Only one more to go. Anyway, I'm done rambling for now. See you next time.